Holy smokes, full-blown 30-car Amtrak derailment for Fetterman.
The Republican Party's running a bunch of ads about showing Fetterman stumbling on things because of the stroke. What kind of a doctor is behind that? Aren't you supposed to do no harm? It's so unempathetic to the guy, you know?
It was really strange to me that he chose to bully a stroke victim.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, he obviously was bullying him. And I think it takes real courage to show that you've been knocked down. I think it takes real bravery to allow people to see your weakness, right? We know that Fetterman's cognitive abilities have not been compromised. It's about expression.
I think that message came through very clearly. I think his answers were very direct. I think there's some real question on the other side about a number of answers where there didn't seem to be a yes or no. But I think John did very well, and I think he understands how people struggle. He understands what working families are up against every day, and I think that came through throughout the debate.
It's very obvious that he is impaired. His ability to communicate is impaired.
It's undoubtable. It's completely legitimate to say that he's still struggling with his ability to speak. Right. And you would expect that. But I think we saw that on display last night in a way that we have not seen it on display, Joe, in rallies and in other appearances that he's had.
Right. I remember Dr. Burns getting in trouble a couple weeks ago with people on the left and even some mainstream voices saying that he had trouble with small talk. Well, it was very obvious last night.
Voters, I think, saw things that will definitely change the state of this race. It's not his fault, but Lieutenant Governor Fetterman struggled. He clearly is dealing with health issues that affect his ability to process and his ability to speak.
Essentially, what we know is that in the first 3 to 6 months is where you see the most improvement. There can be some improvement over the next year, but I think he's about 6 months out now. This happened in May. So I think if he was doing therapy right after his stroke, this is probably where has improved to the most.
I watched the debate last night. It was hard to watch, frankly. They've got a pretty stark choice between John Fetterman, who looked uncomfortable in a suit and tie, whose answers were at times halting, but who is authentic and who will fight for working families in Pennsylvania.
Look, I think it's really tricky how we talk about this debate. Maybe he meant good evening, and he said good night because it was an expressive communication issue.
To even have this, I think, objective conversation is to be accused of ableism. I don't think that's what it is. His answer last night was to say, well, take a look at me. Okay, well, we took a look, and our heart breaks for you, but we're not comfortable, I think is going to be the consensus.
Appearing in the debate was a risky and gutsy move for Fetterman, who could appear halting at times last night. But those stylistic issues have nothing to do with the substance of one flip-flopping statement he made. It's fine for Fetterman to change his mind, but it is false to say that he has always supported fracking, as a moderator pointed out. Because as recently as 2018, Fetterman was saying the opposite.
Nothing Oz did last night will dispel the charges that he's a carpetbagger, and it's unclear how much of an impact this will actually have, but certainly it didn't help Fetterman. And we already know this was a race that was tightening. I spoke to some senior Democratic officials. Their internals the last couple of days had Fetterman, who had been up 16, who had been up 10 or 12, now up more like 4 or 5. That's still a lead. That's outside the margin of error. But that's likely going to tighten that much more. And the stakes can't be overstated here. There's a real chance that the control of the U.S. Senate is going to come down to this one race.